Every single morning, without fail, you wake up feeling like something is stuck in your throat. Not pain, not a cold, just this thick, stubborn, invisible lump that refuses to move. You cough, you clear your throat, you drink water, and 5 minutes later, it's back. And the worst part? When you mention it to people, they wave it off. Oh, that's just phlegm. It's normal at your age. Don't worry about it. But here's what nobody is actually taking the time to explain to you. That phlegm is not random, it is not normal, and it absolutely has a cause. Today, we are going to find that cause, dismantle it, and give your throat the relief it has been begging for. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could genuinely change the way you breathe, sleep, talk, and live. Let's start with the truth that nobody talks about. Mucus is not your enemy. I know that sounds strange when you're carrying a handkerchief everywhere and clearing your throat every 20 seconds. But hear me out. Your body produces between 1 and 2 liters of mucus every single day. That's not a malfunction. That is your immune system doing its job perfectly. Mucus is your body's security team, working around the clock to trap dust, viruses, bacteria, and every microscopic threat floating through the air you breathe. It keeps your airways moist, lubricated, and functioning. It is, quite literally, the first wall between you and everything trying to make you sick. The problem is not the mucus itself. The problem begins when that protective fluid, which should be thin, fluid, and easy to manage, starts to thicken. It becomes dense, sticky, slow. It stops moving. And once it stops moving, it stops doing its job. Think of it like a highway that suddenly has a permanent traffic jam. And as you get older, as you reach your 50s, 60s, and 70s, your body's ability to clear that highway naturally slows down. The muscles involved in swallowing become slightly weaker. The lymphatic vessels, which act like your body's internal drainage system, start operating at maybe 70% of what they used to do. So the smallest irritant, something that your body would have swept away silently at 30, now gets trapped. It builds up, and it announces itself every morning with that horrible urge to clear your throat. Now here is where it gets interesting, and this is the part that surprises almost everyone, including many doctors. The number one hidden cause of persistent phlegm is something called silent reflux. Not the reflux you probably know, the kind with a burning chest after a heavy meal or a strong coffee. That's GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, and yes, that can cause phlegm too. But what we're talking about today is something far more sneaky. It's called laryngopharyngeal reflux, or LPR, and it is a master of disguise. Here's what happens. Acid from your stomach creeps upward, often while you sleep, sometimes during the day. But unlike classic heartburn, it doesn't stop in your esophagus. It goes all the way up to your throat, your larynx, your vocal cords. And those structures are far more sensitive to acid than your esophagus is. So there is no burning sensation, no pain, just a quiet, persistent coating of acid on the most delicate tissue in your airway. And it gets worse. Your stomach produces a digestive enzyme called pepsin. When acid refluxes, it carries that pepsin with it all the way to your throat. Once there, in that acidic environment, the pepsin activates and begins literally digesting the cells of your own throat lining. Your throat, sensing the damage, goes into emergency defense mode. And what does it do? It produces more mucus, thick, sticky, protective mucus, which is the exact sensation you've been waking up with every morning. The Mayo Clinic has detected this silent reflux in up to 60% of patients who come in complaining of chronic phlegm and who have absolutely zero digestive symptoms. 60%. That means the majority of people walking around with a constant lump in their throat have no idea their stomach is the one causing it. So if you notice yourself clearing your throat more when you bend over to tie your shoes, or after eating something spicy, or even after drinking a glass of water with lemon, that is your silent reflux leaving its signature all over your throat. Now let's move to the second great silent culprit, post-nasal drip. Most people think sinusitis means a pounding headache, intense facial pressure, and a nose so blocked you can't breathe. But chronic sinusitis in older adults often presents with none of that drama. Its only gift is a quiet, nighttime nasal drip. While you sleep, your inflamed sinuses slowly drain backward down the wall of your throat. It's like an invisible drip line, depositing thick mucus exactly at the back of your tongue while you're completely unaware. And when you wake up, There it is, that sticky lump, that urge to cough and clear. Here's where most people make a serious mistake. They go to the pharmacy and buy an antihistamine. It dries the nose a little, which feels like relief, but what it actually does is thicken the remaining mucus dramatically. Less volume, yes, but far more concentrated, far more adhesive, far harder to move. The solution is not to dry. The solution is to rinse and to thin. Warm saline nasal washes are one of the most powerful, most underused, most completely accessible tools available to anyone suffering from chronic phlegm. We'll come back to the exact method in a moment. Third, and this one is hiding in plain sight on your nightstand, your medications. The pills you take every day to stay healthy may paradoxically be one of the reasons your throat won't clear. ACE inhibitors, those very common blood pressure medications, raise a substance in the body called bradykinin. In many people, bradykinin triggers a dry, persistent cough that comes with irritating mucus production. Not an infection, not a cold, just a chemical response happening silently in your airway. And then there are NSAIDs, ibuprofen, naproxen, the ones so many people reach for with joint or muscle pain. These reduce prostaglandins, which is exactly how they fight inflammation. But some prostaglandins protect the stomach lining. When you reduce them, you increase your risk of reflux. And more reflux means more mucus in the throat. It is a chain reaction, and you might not even notice it's happening. Never stop your medication without proper guidance. But do have that conversation with whoever manages your care, because sometimes a small adjustment, a different drug, an added stomach protector, a change in timing, makes a difference that years of throat clearing never could. And then there is the air, the actual air moving through your lungs every hour of every day. Tobacco, vaping, wood-burning stoves, cleaning sprays, heavy traffic, fine dust particles, all of these activate inflammatory cells inside your trachea and bronchi and cause something devastating to your cilia. Your cilia are the microscopic hair-like structures lining your entire airway. Their job is to wave rhythmically in perfect coordination, sweeping mucus and particles toward the exit like a perfectly choreographed cleaning crew working at all hours. But past 50, and dramatically more so if you've been exposed to irritants, those cilia lose their rhythm. They slow down. The mucus they should be sweeping away just sits there, and one cigarette, just one, paralyzes those cilia for up to 45 minutes. If you smoke a pack a day, you can calculate for yourself how many minutes of paralysis you're accumulating. It is a relentless, compounding assault on your airway's ability to clean itself. And working alongside all of this, the invisible partner in crime, dehydration. When you don't drink enough fluids, your mucus literally becomes caramel, thick, dense, immovable. Your general target should be 30 milliliters of liquid per kilogram of body weight per day, and that includes water, herbal teas, soups, and the liquid from fruits and vegetables. At 70 kilograms, you're aiming for just over 2 liters. It sounds like a lot until you realize how quickly your airways notice the difference. Now, before we get to the solutions, there is something important that has to be said about when phlegm stops being a nuisance and starts being a warning. If your phlegm smells foul, not just unpleasant, but genuinely rotten and fetid, that signals a serious bacterial infection. If there is any blood, even thin streaks in the mucus, do not wait. Blood and sputum can indicate deep infection, abnormal changes in the bronchi, or in rare cases, something that must be ruled out immediately. If you have a fever above 38 degrees Celsius, especially with chills or exhaustion, that is your body fighting an active infection. And if you are losing weight without trying, if your clothes are becoming loose without explanation, that is a systemic signal that demands urgent medical evaluation. The rule is simple. If your phlegm has not meaningfully improved after 15 days of consistent effort, it is time to see a specialist. Not because you failed, but because the cause may be deeper than lifestyle alone can reach. Now let's talk about what actually works. Start your morning with 2 large glasses of warm water on an empty stomach, not cold. Cold water constricts blood vessels and slows absorption. Warm water wakes up your digestive system and begins thinning the mucus that accumulated overnight. Then do it again before bed. This simple habit alone is more powerful than most people imagine. For your nasal rinse, here is the exact formula. 250 milliliters of water, boiled and cooled, never straight from the tap, with 1 teaspoon of non-iodized sea salt and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. The salt cleans and reduces inflammation. The baking soda neutralizes acidity and breaks down thick mucus. Use a rinse bottle or neti pot from any pharmacy. Tilt your head over the sink, pour the solution into one nostril and let it drain from the other. 5 seconds per side, morning and night. It sounds unusual if you've never done it. The results are not unusual at all. To fight silent reflux without medication, elevate the head of your bed. Not with an extra pillow under your head that just bends your neck and does nothing for reflux. Place a wooden wedge or a block 10 to 15 centimeters under the legs at the head of your bed. This gentle tilt uses gravity to keep stomach acid where it belongs all night long. And stop eating at least 3 hours before sleeping. Cut off coffee after the early afternoon. Caffeine relaxes the valve between your esophagus and stomach, essentially leaving the door open for acid to travel upward. Stop clearing your throat. I know this feels impossible when the sensation is so strong, but every time you forcefully clear your throat, you are dragging rough tissue across your vocal cords. It inflames them. It triggers more mucus production. It makes the problem worse. Instead, the moment you feel the urge, take a sip of warm water and swallow deliberately. That swallowing motion clears the mucus and lubricates the tissue without the damage. After brushing your teeth every evening, swallow your own saliva 10 times consciously, slowly and deliberately, feeling the muscles in your throat activate. This simple exercise strengthens the muscles of swallowing and stimulates your lymphatic drainage, the very system that gets sluggish with age and allows mucus to pool. If you have no contraindications, always check with a medical professional first. 500 milligrams of N-acetylcysteine taken 30 minutes before a meal can be remarkably effective. NAC is a mucolytic, meaning it breaks the chemical bonds holding mucus together and makes it genuinely thinner and easier to move. Think of it as a key that unlocks the thick mucus and lets it flow freely. Paired with proper hydration and nasal rinsing, it works on a completely different level than most remedies people reach for. Now let me quickly tell you what does not work, because these myths are everywhere. Sugar with lemon, a beloved classic that is actually doing the opposite of what you want. Sugar draws water out of your throat cells through osmosis, leaving the tissue drier and the mucus thicker. Milk does not produce mucus, but the casein protein in milk can make existing mucus feel denser, especially if you're already dehydrated. And over-the-counter expectorants with guaifenesin, they can help, but only if you are drinking substantial water. Without it, they simply turn your phlegm into an expensive gel. There is no magic in a bottle, there is only physiology, and once you understand the physiology, you can work with your body instead of against it. Let me tell you about Rosa, 68 years old. She came in after 8 months of what she called a cold that never ended. She had tried everything. Honey and ginger, a 3-week course of antibiotics, every over-the-counter syrup she could find. Nothing lasted. She was exhausted. Her voice was unreliable, and the constant throat clearing was waking her husband at night. A laryngoscopy, a small fiber optic camera passed gently into her throat, revealed exactly what she was describing. Inflamed vocal cords, irritated mucosa, and a thick drop of sticky mucus clinging to the back wall of her throat like it had been living there for months. The diagnosis was a combination of silent laryngopharyngeal reflux and post-nasal drip from chronic maxillary sinusitis, which caused her no headache and no obvious nasal obstruction. Just that drip, just that phlegm. She was also taking a daily anti-inflammatory for her knee that was quietly contributing to her reflux. It was replaced. Her bed was elevated, nasal rinses started, NAC was added. 21 days later, she sent a message. For the first time in months, I woke up without that cough. My throat is clear. Rosa didn't need surgery. She didn't need strong medication. She needed someone to look at the whole picture and address the root instead of suppressing the symptom. That is the principle behind everything shared today. Persistent phlegm is not a random curse. It is not an inevitable part of aging. It is a message from your body telling you that one specific mechanism, or a combination of mechanisms, has been disrupted. Silent reflux, post-nasal drip, a medication interaction, environmental irritants, dehydration. Once you find which one it is, the solution is closer than you think. You do not have to spend the rest of your life clearing your throat in elevators and apologizing in the middle of conversations. You do not have to wake up every morning wrestling with that stubborn lump before you've had your first cup of coffee. Your body has an extraordinary capacity to restore itself when you give it the right conditions. Start the nasal rinses tonight. Elevate the bed this weekend. Drink the water. Stop the late-night eating. And pay attention, because within days, your throat will start telling you a completely different story. If this helped you understand what's happening in your body, share this with someone you know who has been silently suffering. Leave your questions in the comments below. Every single one gets read. And stay tuned for the next video, where we go deeper into exactly which foods already sitting in your kitchen right now can reduce throat inflammation starting tomorrow morning. Until then, breathe easy.